Hey everyone, it's Rob Stanley with the FeedbackWhiz podcast. And today my special guest is Taylor Benterud. He's founder of Better AMS. Hey Taylor, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
So Taylor hit me up about being on the show, and I was actually went out and watched your videos on YouTube, and you have some really in-depth information that people need to know about. And I hope people will pay attention and listen to the rest of this podcast or watch the video, because we're going to talk about how to optimize Amazon keyword advertising with reports. Now, that may at the top level sound very not interesting, but I think that people don't focus too much, or they should focus more on some of these reports available to them, right, Taylor?
Yes, bid optimization is, extremely important, but understanding the optimal time frame that you should change your bids off of is super in the weeds, and not a lot of people talk about it.
Absolutely. So I was watching this video that Taylor did, and he started finding these weird discrepancies and these weird sort of, what would you call them, Taylor?
Well, the their Amazon advertising sales attribution window there's a huge lag. Basically, do you want me to run through what we did, the little experiment?
Yeah. Give them at least a high level of it.
Okay, so high level, what we did with the experiment, imagine that today's date is July 2nd, and we pulled the advertising sales for yesterday. And we pulled the advertising sales for July 1st every day for 14 days, and that's it. And what we saw was if the advertising sales on July 1st, the first day we pulled it was $1,000. 14 days later, when we looked at the advertising sales for July 1st, halfway through the month, it said $2,000. So there's a huge delay in the actual sales attribution. And we did this across 30 accounts and saw each account had totally different variants of when this actual sales data started to roll in.
Yeah, and that was kind of weird, right? And at this point, you still haven't really figured out why, have you?
So when I spoke with the one rep, and there's many reps with different opinions, they'll just classically tell you, oh, it's a sales attribution. There's just a lag. Some people will click add to cart, whatever, and purchase 14 days later. That makes sense, but when you pull that test I explained is just one test, and we didn't necessarily figure out why. But what we did figure out is that when you pull the campaign performance report, which is one of the reports in your sponsored products, advertising, or sponsored brands, it'll basically tell you the total sales for all your advertising for that ad type. Let's just say sponsored products. If you pull it for the last 7 days, and then you pull the last 14 days, the last 21 days, the last 30 days, what you'll see is the last 14 days, we saw this across many accounts. Last 14 days, total sales shows I don't know, let's just say $80,000. And then last 21 days shows $64,000. So for some reason, when you increase the amount of time, the sales actually went down. And no one could really give us a clear answer on why. I thought it was just because of refunds, but no one would ever actually tell us it's because of refunds. So hopefully someone listening has the actual answer as to what that is.
So it's still a mystery right now.
It is still a mystery, but the reason why we did this deep dive, and for anyone listening, it's really important, is just optimal time frame to base your bid changes off is about 30 days from what we saw. Through all these discrepancies and all this weird inconsistencies and the huge sales attribution lag that comes from your PPC sales, if you can base your bid changes off of the last 30 days of data, it's a safer bet than the last 7 days. Drastically safer. Drastically safer. I would never change a bid on the last 7 day time frame ever for a keyword that has a lot of data. So last 30 days is optimal.
Yeah, and I think you were even mentioning that I think you were tracking a little bit of data of somebody who prior to that 7 days may have stopped bidding on that keyword, and it may have been a successful keyword, right?
Yeah, so what's crazy is if you have an account, which we have many of these accounts that we manage, where let's just say today the sales of the keyword shows 0 sales and $25 in spend. But 7 days later, when we look at the sales of that keyword 7 days later on that specific day where it said 0 sales and $75 in spend, it actually had $500 in sales. And so if you base your bid changes, God forbid you base it on yesterday's time frame, that would be the worst thing ever. But even on a 7 day time frame, it's quite risky, because if you wait an extra 7 days, the sales of that keyword might actually double in a very drastic scenario. Usually it's only about a 10 to 20% increase, which is still a lot. And that can fluctuate your A costs into a level that is actually healthy where you would have never changed the bid. So timeframes, man, it's like different dimensions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then just real quick before we keep going on, there will be a link down in the description on both the podcast and the video to the video that we're talking about that you went really in depth. It's like a 20-minute video.
Yes.
It's really in depth. Now, I did have one other thing. I was watching that video and I asked Taylor about this, and he was talking about, I think it was like revenue you were talking about, like different revenues at different points. And you brought up a good point when we were talking about it, about where there's certain levels that you see a better acceleration of a return on your money when you're spending a certain amount. Was that right? And tell them a little about that.
Well, what we've seen generally, and we did this study across like 34 accounts, the accounts that had only about a few $100s, $300 to $500 per day worth of sales coming in from their PPC every day, didn't see much of a sales attribution lag. So there wasn't like those accounts didn't really have any change through like a 2-week period. But the accounts where you're generating over $1,000 per day in sales from your PPC, that's when you start to see that there's like a 20 to 25, even 30% lag in the sales. And again, just to re-explain that, what I mean by that is if you look at the sales on July 1st and it says $1,000 for that day, 14 days later, it might actually have been 1,500 just because of the sales attribution.
Yeah. And I mean, not to take this out of context, but I kind of saw that in Google too. When I would do Google AdWords back in the day, I would see occasionally, I actually would see something like that. Not that drastic though. But I would see like it was, I'd go back and look and I was like, wait, all of a sudden, instead of that spending $1,000 that day, it said, maybe it was 1,100 or 1,200. And so did Amazon give you an explanation other than the lag, or they're just pretty much just sticking to that?
No, I mean, the problem is that every rep will say something different. We don't really have a contact that I feel I can really trust that is like the guy that knows for sure how it works. I think everybody has this dream of like knowing that guy, and no one really knows who he is. So I don't want to say anything specific, but I got a lot of different responses, primarily from just like 3 people. And one person said it might be refunds. I'll get back to you. They don't get back to you. And I don't have the time to continuously follow up and try to pester them. So we don't know what it is. I think it is something to do with refunds, because it doesn't make any sense why you would look at your advertising sales last 14 days and it says $80,000. But then when you look at last 21 days, it says 60. How does it go down by 20 grand? Like there's accounts that even where it goes down like 50 grand. And I'm thinking to myself, how does that work? That doesn't make any sense. So I think it's refunds. I have no idea. It's pretty mind boggling, but the takeaway is base your bid changes for most of your keywords off of last 30 days. That's like the safest bet that you can have.
Yeah. And then, so as far as reports are concerned from Amazon, are you, which reports are you pulling? Is it just one report or multiple that you usually look at? Maybe help everybody out with, if they want to try to kind of dive into this and look at their own, what reports would you recommend?
Well, if you want to understand how bad the sales attribution lag is on your account to know if this is an issue or not for you, really, you don't need to pull any reports. You can just go into Campaign Manager, look at the sales for yesterday, and then at the same time every day for the next 14 days, look at the sales for that specific day and just track it in a spreadsheet. And then you can see the percentage change day over day from the day 1 to day 14. But if your question is more centered around what reports can people utilize to get better performance out of the PPC, is that like the actual question?
Sure.
Then
let's go
to that response, I would say the search term report is probably the most important report. I mean, just because you have the customer search term data there, which I've been talking about this for years and I've just said it so many times, but it's funny how few people actually really understand the importance of the search term report. What we do is pretty simple. You just download your search term report last 30 days. You should do this at least once a month. It's the most fundamental thing in the world. Download it last 30 days, add a column that will tell you what customer search terms are unique. So you have customer search terms, then you have the keywords. Keywords are the keywords that you're bidding on. Customer search terms are like the actual customer search terms that show up based on the extensions of phrase match or broad match. and then just find the unique customer search terms. And that's it. Filter by unique customer search terms. There you go. You have your list of golden keywords that are unique, and then you can filter the sales by greatest to least, ACoS within whatever threshold that you have. And now you have literally a spreadsheet of gold that is telling you, hey, here's a list of 100 keywords that have performed at an ACoS less than 25%, which might be your target. And they've generated $20,000 in sales. And you're not actually bidding on these keywords yet. They're just extensions of the keywords that you are bidding on. And we found that by actually bidding on those keywords, it will help boost your sales. Maybe not 100%, but maybe 20 to 25% at most, because you're telling Amazon, I want to give this keyword more traffic. So that's just the ultimate. Do that, and you're covering pretty much all your bases, at least for your reports, I would say.
Yeah. Anybody doing Google advertising, they have that same report, by the way. And the only reason I keep referencing it is because that was really where I have more experience as far as advertising and keywords.
Yes.
But they do have a similar thing. I would go look and I would see what keyword term brought them to the website that got them to check out, exactly. How high, what was basically, what was bringing them in, right? And how was it basically doing? It was bringing them in, but maybe it was a wrong keyword, right? So at least in Amazon, in Google, I was able to actually put negative keywords in where I could say block from certain terms, because my company is Direct Fix. You want to know how many times Direct TV showed up in my search terms? All the time, right? So I had to basically negative or tell them that anytime it has the word Direct TV in it, do not go to Direct Fix. So, that's definitely, but I found a lot of good keywords that I was able to jump on and basically drive more traffic through and basically add more fuel to the fire, so to speak. And that's basically what you're saying, right?
Yes. The other thing I'll say is it's not a push button solution to double your business. From what we've seen across all primarily we work with 7 to 8 figure brands on Amazon, some 6-figure sellers that we think have a lot of potential that are borderline 7 figures. But on average at that level, you're looking at the advertising sales making up a healthy 30% of your total sales. And I've seen it go up to 50%. Usually it doesn't go any higher than 50. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm doing $100,000 a month right now, what kind of potential could I increase my business by, like the monthly sales with better PPC? Well, just look at what your ad rev percentage is right now. If you're doing 100,000 total per month, how much of that is advertising? If you're only getting $10,000 out of that 100 from ads, you got a solid room to increase your monthly sales by at least 10 to 20,000. Yep. At least within a healthy ACoS. When you get up to 50% ad rev, I don't even think that's healthy. And I know some sellers that run at that level of like revenue. I don't recommend it. I think if you're at 50% ad rev, you need to start launching more products.
Yeah.
And begin diversifying.
Right. Take that money and bring in more products for sure.
Yeah.
That's the one way to do it. And so what are some ways sellers can fully utilize their data in their search term report?
Yeah, really, the one I just described is the main way to help increase the sales, right? Leveraging those unique customer search terms that you're not yet bidding on. The other flip side is, of course, killing the ones that aren't performing well. Now, we could probably do a 7-hour series on how to do that because we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and it seems to never-ending ways on how to optimize the not performing so well keywords. I don't want to dive too deep into the weeds, but primarily what we'll do is, let's say that we'll have a target ACoS. If the client's target ACoS is 25% at the account level, okay, there's different dimensions. You can have account level target ACoS, product level target ACoS, you can have keyword level, but let's just say account level is 25%. Any keywords that are above 25%, we'll just make sure that we have bid formulas that running twice a week, at least changing bids on all keywords that perform above that target ACoS level. If you're doing bid optimizations only once a week, I don't think it's enough. I think you should at least be doing it twice a week, ideally more. But we have software that runs just twice a week, and we've been doing that for years, and it's more than enough. It's fine. So yeah, leveraging some form of software or using bulk operations and building your own bid formulas. We could talk about bid formulas. I don't know if that's a juicy topic. It's quite in the weeds. We might lose some people talking about bid formulas.
Maybe give them a high level of it so we don't lose too many people.
Yeah, well, first of all, to create a bid formula, you're looking at a lot of different variables. Time frame is one of them. ACoS is another one. The product is another variable. building bid formulas is quite a complex process where you need a certain level of mathematics to do it. Most people, I'll just speak high level. Most people, when they go and they think about a bid formula, they use these IFTTs, or if this, then that statements, where it's one-dimensional IFTT, which is how I think of it. If this, then that. If it has 5 clicks and greater than $10 in spend, reduce the bid or pause the keyword. In my opinion, this is okay up until you get to about 7 figures. You're losing a lot of money if you're still doing some if this, then that statement with your advertising. You need more powerful formulas that will look at multiple layers of if this, then that across multiple different variables, but also not just do a random kind of, I would almost call it arbitrary bid change. What you can do is, I'd have to read the formula if people really want to take it, but there's a couple formulas we have. There's one that's really good for reducing bids that is optimal, which I think I discussed it on the YouTube channel. So probably better people just go there and find it than me trying to
probably good idea.
Lay out a formula. Yeah.
Nice. So why don't you talk a little bit about what about keywords? When you guys do you do the research for the companies that you guys represent for finding the keywords? And if you do, what, like, are you guys using software to do it? Or are you just going looking at their data? How do you guys do the keyword research?
So the first thing we do, because normally we're coming into a 7 or 8 figure account that usually is spending a hefty amount of advertising. They're already generating a lot of sales. The very first thing we do is we go with the low hanging fruit. We pull that search term report and we do exactly what I said in the beginning of this interview, where we find those unique customer search terms. That is the low hanging fruit. I don't care if you're doing $100 million a year on Amazon. I'm going to do that. That's the first thing I'm going to do, because it's going to help you grow your business the fastest and the easiest. So that's where we start with the keyword research, is we just start with the existing data. But if we come into an account that doesn't have any existing data, yes, we will use, I think we use Magnet with Helium 10. We used to use Merchant Words. We transferred over recently. I guess our team just liked it more. I don't know what the specifics are. But we use Magnet, and primarily we'll just find, we call it the golden seed keywords, where it's just seed keywords that will produce the best, most relevant keywords for that specific product. So if you're selling like an ice cream scooper, we work with an amazing brand that sells stuff similar to that. And we'll take that seed keyword. Usually it's the essence of what the product is. So if it's a microphone, the seed keyword is probably microphone. If it's an ice cream scooper, it's whatever that is.
Yeah.
But you take that seed keyword and you find the synonyms to the words within it. So if it's ice cream scooper, you can probably find a synonym to scooper and use spoon, or use, spatula, or whatever. There's weird keywords that people search that allows you to go deeper than the surface level. So that's how we do the keyword research. We find that golden seed keyword, then we find the synonyms throughout it and just play around with those synonyms and plug it into Magnet or a reverse ASIN lookup. And that's primarily where we do the keyword research and how we do it.
Yeah. What about long tail keywords?
So generally that will produce a solid amount of long tail keywords. So there's filters within Magnet, which is partly why I liked it a little bit more than Merchant Words. I don't know if Merchant Words does this. I haven't logged in a while, but you can filter the amount of the word length of the search term. We don't put it more than, I think the filter that we have is 2 or 1 to 7. So 7 words within the term. Because from what we've seen, beyond 7, I mean, you think about 7 words, like ice cream scooper for my kitchen. I think that's like 6. You add another one, that's like, it's like as long tail as it gets. And there's just not many people searching that long tail of stuff. But no, those seed keywords with Magnet will cover your bases and find you a lot of long tail keywords with 50 or 100 searches per month, which is generally where the long tails sit at.
Yeah. And then what about also being descriptive? Like I talked with Norm for our one time, and we were talking about like we talked about long-term keywords, and he was talking about, being specific too. Like, say it's a red scooper versus a yellow ice cream scooper, like you gotta, of course you have to have that though, right? Like you don't want to go start advertising for a red ice cream scooper and yours is white, and you only have white and you don't have red, but have you also found, let me ask this though, two-parter. So talk about that, but have you also found that if you see a good keyword, do you go back to your customer and let them know that, hey, bunch of people are looking at red ice cream scoopers. Maybe you guys might want to make a red one instead of a white one, right? Have you ever done that?
I would say yes, I have done in the past. I haven't been working with clients directly. I mainly work on the business now. But I think definitely the account executives in in the agency are doing that, basically giving insights to the client saying, hey, this is a keyword that's converting really well. Probably we should think about launching this variation or adding this variation. But you'd be surprised, something like red ice cream scooper, bidding on that, and you have a black one, it's surprisingly probably still going to convert really well if you have a great listing. Yeah. So we don't worry too much about being perfect with the product lining up exactly with the thing. We'll just throw the mud against the wall. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We'll make sure to cut it out. I mean, fortunately, we have a good bid management system, so we can just throw mud at the wall and then the automations take care of it. But I wouldn't get too specific or too granular, like down to the coloring and whatnot.
Sure.
At least in the beginning. If you're spending a ton of money, you want to go that far, go for it.
Yeah, it probably depends on the product too, right? Like an ice cream scooper, I wouldn't care. Right? You know, it's like,
yes,
I'm looking for the best deal on it as a buyer, you know, as long as it functions and it does what I need. There's other products that might be a little more specific, right? Like, I don't know any examples off the top of my head, but
clothes,
yeah,
you know,
clothes,
stuff like
exactly.
That. That's where
a red shirt versus
serious.
A black shirt is going to be a lot different. Yeah.
That will hurt your conversion rate quite a bit. Yes.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. There's some good data there definitely to look at. Yeah. So with Better AMS, why don't you explain a little bit about what you guys do and what services you offer?
Well, we have offered one service for, I don't know if it's 4 or 5 years now. We just basically do the full advertising management on Amazon and Amazon only. So we primarily help 7 to 8 figure sellers, in some cases 6-figure sellers, if we think they have great products and a lot of potential. But yeah, full advertising management is what we do. It's a hybrid approach of, I call it a cyborg approach, where it's half human, half machine. We have great people. You need great people. You can't just trust an autopilot software. You know, as much as I love software, with your PPC, you need a human being. You need someone in the cockpit in case there's a storm, because the autopilot can't handle that freaking storm. So that's my beliefs on PPC. That's how we run, and that's how we help our clients, basically.
Nice. And where do you kind of see Amazon advertising going in the future here? Like, what do you feel is either coming up, either good or bad?
Well, I mean, if you think, if we can get teleportation figured out, shipping can be instantaneous across Earth. So huge. I mean, massive potential. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon figured that out. But no, seriously, I think that the potential for Amazon advertising is still in its infancy. 4 years ago, it was literally a baby. It was just born, and now it's still like, I don't know, 6 months old relative to like a human being being born. If you compare it to Google AdWords and you look at the actual like money that Amazon makes through their advertising relative to AdWords, I think it's only 5% or 6%. I don't know what the total is. Last time I looked was a year ago, but infancy, massive potential. We just got into the DSP, which is the demand side platform to do retargeting ads, which is such an interesting world. I mean, it's not PPC, it's CPM, so you're paying per 1,000 impressions.
Yep.
It's not link through click, it's view through conversion. So you're basically, the conversions are happening at the view level. So if someone sees the retargeting ad and then purchases your product, they take attribution and credit for it, which is pretty standard in the retargeting worlds. I think Facebook and Google maybe do the same thing, but it's new for people on Amazon when they're used to the amazing pay-per-click. They know that that sale came from that link, but it's, long story short, it's only getting bigger, and they continuously releasing new ad types and new targeting options, and it's just getting better and better and better. And in my opinion, the biggest ad platform in the world. In 5 to 10 years, I think it's just going to.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, it used to be everybody said to Google it, right? Now it's, you still can, right? I mean, you still do on certain topics, but if it's anything to do with a product, people just go straight to Amazon and search it now. I mean, that's just the way life is. It's definitely changed. And then just to touch on one thing that you were talking about, just to explain to everybody a little bit, just in case they're not familiar with the understanding of what retargeting is. Why don't you just give them a little quick example of what retargeting is? Yeah.
So if someone visits your listing page and they don't purchase, you can retarget them through DSP. And that's as simple as it gets. It's retargeting on Amazon and off Amazon. So there's cool placements on Amazon. If you've ever seen an ad on Amazon where you're scrolling down and the image is almost like a GIF where like the product moves a little bit, that's a DSP ad. Regular sponsored product ads don't do that. That's a DSP retarget ads. Usually they happen right below the categories on the left-hand side of the page. If you search something and there's the categories and all that filter options, it'll be right there, a little slender ad, and usually it'll kind of move a little bit. But it is amazing. Retargeting ads is really exciting. We're super excited to have access to that DSP platform. It's a painful thing to get access to, but it's been amazing the last couple of months playing around with it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember at one point I was actually in the beta retargeting for YouTube channels for Google. And they weren't moving ads, right? But it was one of those things that if somebody hit my YouTube channel was directly related to my actual website, that basically I could start hitting them with ads to come to my website to buy, and then specific ads depending on what video they hit. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
That is legendary.
It was pretty cool stuff. It was pretty cool stuff back then. And man, made a ton of money on retargeting for sure in the early days.
Well, DSP from what we've seen is looking like that, but we're not sure because of the whole view through conversion thing. And it's hard to measure the actual top line growth of a product because you might see a $10 ROAS, but like what's the actual top line growth? We're still measuring that stuff to see just how much of a game changer it is for a business.
So what's next for Better AMS? Are more AI? Are you guys going to extend into different areas of advertising, or?
The big thing is software. We have software, but we never really fully invested into an amazing development team that could build us some really amazing stuff. I almost said a swear word, but a really amazing stuff. And so, getting into just adding in like machine learning or AI, I think will be really cool. And just having something that is very robust, or in my opinion, much better than the stuff that's available on the market. The problem I have with the software that's on the market, we demoed pretty much every single Amazon advertising bid management software in the market. And the issue is it's a black box, and I cannot trust what is in the magical, mystical black box because I don't understand how it works. And so they won't tell me because it's a proprietary algorithm. And that's fine. I appreciate the hustle. I respect that your formulas are very important and your AI and how that all works. But at the end of the day, I can't trust that because I don't know how it works. So we have to build our own things, sadly.
So Taylor, tell everybody kind of a two-parter. What did you do before starting Better AMS? And then what brought you to the point of starting Better AMS?
Okay. Before Better AMS, I was in Belgrade, Serbia. I was 18 years old, and I was trying to begin the process of a successful career playing professional football, which is soccer for people. And so that was great. And then I came home after a heartbreak and just decided, well, I'll get into business. And my dad bought a small little supplements company on Amazon for like, I don't know, 20 grand. It was a supplements company. This is back in 2016, I think, when the average cost per click on the word testosterone booster was like 20 cents. And it's just like a license to print money. You bid on that thing and you're making money. So I thought I was amazing. I was like, wow, I'm so good at this. That's how Better AMS started. And
Nice.
Right time, right place. And where we're going next, I guess, is just AI and more software and amazing people with a great culture.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a great team there. How many people do you have currently as part of your whole team?
13, maybe 12. I don't know for sure what the size is, but 13 or 12, mostly in the United States, Guatemala, Barcelona, and then a handful of people in the Philippines as well, 4 or 5 in the Philippines as well.
Sure.
Amazing team. We're super blessed. I feel lucky to work with everyone I work with.
Awesome. Couple more questions. What do you think you would have done if you hadn't started Better AMS? You think it would have just stayed with the supplement thing, helping your dad, or?
Man, I would have launched a PL brand. I think that if I couldn't get the agency off the ground, I was in the process of doing it actually, and then it just kind of randomly happened, and then that PL brand just went off to the side, and I never ended up doing it. So I think that's probably what would have happened. That's an interesting question. No one's ever asked that.
I try to keep it a little bit fresh, right? You know, you get on these shows and not everybody likes to ask the same questions. I like to throw something a little different in. So
that was a curveball.
Nice. Okay, so last question. Tell everybody how they get a hold of you, including the website and any information you want to share.
Website is betterams.com, and getting a hold of me, you can just follow me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active posting there. My partner, Destiny, with Sean, is probably 10 times more known than me. She's everywhere, and her LinkedIn's 10 times better than me. So she's actually probably a better person to follow. But yeah, you can just follow me on LinkedIn or message me there, and I'll be able to get back to you.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks again, Taylor from Better AMS. Thanks for being on the EcomWhiz podcast. I really appreciate it.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information, please visit feedbackwhiz.com.